Okay, so good evening and welcome to the City of Petaluma regular meeting of the City Council and the Petaluma Community Development Successor Agency meeting for Monday, September 14th.
Barrett.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Kearney.
Here.
King.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
And Miller.
Here. Now we're moving on to general public comments.
My name is Scott Springhorn. The proposed 16 antenna farm cell tower on top of the historic Petaluma Creamery is not needed because there is now substantial written evidence in the public record that proves that Verizon has no significant gap in telecommunications service in a 3-mile radius area surrounding the creamery, which is 28 square miles. Those who live near the creamery have continued to ask the city since early June to order a wireless antenna need test, what the industry calls a drive test. This test would place in the public record objective, verifiable data about the signal strength of each Verizon telecommunications frequency on the streets of Petaluma within these 28 square miles. Importantly, this drive test could be executed at no cost to the city. This critically important wireless antenna need test executed by a professional engineer would give Petaluma incontrovertible evidence to make a finding of no significant gap in coverage, which would protect the city from any lawsuit from the applicant. The data would also confirm what Petaluma VHP has already established with its own substantial evidence in the public record that there is no significant gap in service at 30 locations in the 3-mile radius area surrounding the creamery. For over 4 months, we have heard from the M Group about this drive test is that they are looking into it. There have been no commitments nor progress given on this matter. We have not heard a reason from the M Group as to why not to order the drive test. Once again, we are asking the city immediately order this critically important zero cost to the city drive test. It should be noted that the coverage analysis, which has been included in the application materials by Verizon, is not substantial written evidence of a need for the cell tower because it is only projection of Verizon's desires and is not based on any actual measurements of RF microwave radiation made in the 3-mile radius surrounding the creamery. This unverifiable projection is mere fiction and must be stricken from the record as it is not substantial written evidence. In addition to the drive test, we have asked the M Group to get from Verizon the anonymous call logs for this area to objectively establish if there is a significant number of dropped calls. The M Group wrote a letter to Verizon asking for the data 2 weeks ago, but the city has received nothing. The applicant has this data and could make a 30-minute database query to provide it. Verizon is not doing so, is acting in bad faith. In short, the HCPC and the Planning Commission need substantial written evidence in the record to support their findings, evidence that will stand up in court. The data from the drive test is what the city of Petaluma needs to prevent the city from getting sued by the applicant. This is essentially zero cost insurance. We ask that you please order the drive test immediately. Thank you for your time.
I hope you can hear me. Can you?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I have to tell you, Scott's right again. He does very good research. And what you have to understand is that Complete Wireless Consulting, on behalf of some entity known as Verizon, and whatever entity that the involved wireless carrier is alleging it is doing business as, which is a very germane issue here, is creating significant and thorny insurance issues for all involved in this potential business transaction that the city of Petaluma may or may not bless. In short, the city of Petaluma has been and continues to be taken for a ride for over a year now by this pair of applicants, which have been perpetrating serial acts of bad faith, which the M Group has not reined in and has repeatedly looked the other way. We had established this historic property should go through a process, yet the M Group let them out of the box. And they pushed it off all the way to January completely unnecessarily. Why would they do this? I can't imagine. Now, despite the evidence the Petaluma residents established in the public record, the Petaluma Creamery is a minor facility, and Petaluma Code 14-44.090, Basic Requirements of Minor Facilities, says the combined effective radiated power by all the antennas present on the parcel must be less than 1,500 watts. What do we see? We don't see the plans changing at all. Verizon's known this for a long time. They've already stated their intention. They want to keep all 16 antennas and all 500,000 of their watts. Well, let's do the math. 1,500 watts divided by 500,000 watts. That means an antenna that would only be 0.3% of what they hope to run. That's appropriate for a historic property. Yet here they are with a project saying we want to do 333 times more, which is completely unnecessary for telecommunications service. You have to understand, they're going to sue you because they don't like your code. You're going to have to actually figure out what data do you need in order to say no for other reasons. So they don't just sue you and don't just put this thing in anyway. This is a terrible project for many of the homes for a 3-mile radius. It is completely unnecessary because there is no significant gap in coverage. We have some data, but that's not data that maybe the judge will like. What you got to do is you got to get a professional engineer with a stamp. That'll do it. And get this in the data right away in the public record. Now you have a fighting chance to just reasonably, rationally say no and not get sued. If you play this wrong, you're going to get sued. This is their biggest card. Don't fall victim to it.
Yes, if it's not on the agenda, this is the time for that.
Okay, this is also related to the mega cell tower that would go up at the Petaluma Creamery. I just want to point out that there are over 1,500 students who attend schools within a 5-mile radius of that proposed mega cell tower site. And just want to let everyone know that Cardinal Newman School recently took down a cell tower on that school. Ripon Valley took down a mega cell tower because of a cancer cluster in that area. And if you go to Physicians for Safe Technology, you can see a bevy of double-blind, good scientific studies showing a list of health concerns, particularly that children have experienced and adults who live and work and study near cell towers, including but not limited to headaches, insomnia, dizziness, irritability, fatigue, heart palpitations, nausea, cancer, poor concentration, poor memory, neuropsychiatric problems such as depression. And I hope somebody is thinking about the children who go to school at Valley Vista, Petaluma High, Elam Lutheran, Gone Israel, and Spring Hill, which are all very close to that proposed cell tower site. Thank you.
I just wanted to address something that maybe not everyone is aware of because of a lot of people are still sheltering in place. And that is the very newsworthy story that just hit this past few days about Gabe Kearney. Gabe Kearney is in all the major Sonoma County newspapers and all over social media, but it's not for good reason. Petaluma City Council member Gabe Kearney faces 16 counts of campaign finance violations. Gabe Kearney, partner to Mike Healy and Kathy Miller, one member of the real estate developer funded Healy, Kearney, Miller slate. Gabe Kearney, cited by the California Fair Political Practices Act Commission for 16 counts of violating campaign finance law. Not 1 or 2 violations, but 16 violations of campaign finance law. Cited for violations including accepting money outside of his campaign, missing money, and never accounting for his finances during the entire term he's been in office. This is not just 1 or 2 counts. This is 16 violations of campaign finance law. Not 1 or 2 violations, it is 16. 1 violation, 2 violations, 3 violations, 4 violations, 5 violations, 6 violations, 7 violations, 8 violations, 9 violations, 10 violations, 11 violations, 12 violations, etc.
Hi, I'm Davis Everett, and I also am extremely disturbed by the recent revelation in the Argus and Press Democrat that Councilmember Kearney has incurred these 16 campaign finance violations from 2016 through 2019. According to the report that I read from the Fair Political Practices Commission, he failed to file his proper campaign documents on 10 occasions from June of 2016 through January of 2020. He also failed to pay his annual filing fee 5 times from June of 2016 through January of 2019. But most disturbing is that he solicited $5,315 prior to filing for his candidacy during the November 8th, 2016 general election. Councilmember Kearney appears to have a severe disregard for our campaign finance laws. At best, his behavior shows incredible incompetence. At worst, his behavior shows a real lack of integrity. In a time when we want to believe and need to believe in our government, we need to see more transparency and have a faith in honesty so we can believe in our elected officials. As a resident of Petaluma, I would like to know how the City Council plans to deal with such a flagrant disregard for our campaign finance laws. Thank you.
Let's circle back to trust. 3 incumbent council members are running as a slate. Councilmember Kearney, a member of that slate, has 16 alleged FPPC, Fair Political Practicing Commission violations. These violations are significant. Trust is everything when asking the voters to support a hefty sales tax measure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Dear Mayor and City Council, the costs for the art project Fine Balance have risen to $500,000. In August 2017, the city authorized a contract to Brian Goggin for the structures not to exceed $150,000. In October 2019, in an email to the Public Art Committee, the artist requested $275,000 for Fine Balance. Staff in the M Group charges the Public Art Fund about $65,000 per year. Due to the widespread opposition to Fine Balance on Water Street, an EIR must be done. Approximate costs will be in the range of $50,000. In order to manage the process, staff will have more costs charged to PPAC, perhaps another $50,000. At 2 summer meetings, staff stated the cherry soda piece in the theater district would be cleaned for $6,000 by a restoration expert, and staff charged an additional $6,500 for its time. If it costs that much to clean one small statue at ground level, imagine the cost to clean 5 tubs hanging 25 feet above Water Street. We must save funds for one future cleaning of the 5 structures, possibly $10,000 for each tub or another $50,000. Total minimum costs for Fine Balance will be around $500,000, $500,000, which is far more than the not to exceed $150,000. It was determined in September 2019 that Fine Balance would be temporary, so we must encumber the funds to remove them and restore Water Street to a pedestrian promenade. That cost would easily be $100,000. No matter how the cost is computed, the actual cost for Fine Balance will be approximately $600,000. It is my hope with the current pandemic restrictions on indoor dining, the City Council could keep Water Street historical and available for our local restaurants. If the City Council decides to go forward, I recommend a different location and hold Mr. Goggin to the original $150,000.